there. Let's use him. All right. Joining us now, Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. He's a deputy Republican whip, serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, also an Air Force veteran. Good to see you, Congressman. How you doing?
You bet. Good, good. How are you?
So, how do you feel about what the president said about Sweden? The facts don't meet up with his urgency, but what did you take from it?
Yeah. Well, I thought, I mean, it's obviously embarrassing. I think it was, it shouldn't have been said, right? I mean, I think it kind of builds into this narrative that it's more, when he's doing a campaign about kind of the emotion of the moment than it is about his security briefings, and that's something that he's been criticized for. Really though, on the broad scheme of things, it's an embarrassing moment. On the broad scheme of things, this isn't a huge international incident. I think about if a foreign leader said, hey, last night in the United States there was a terrorist attack and there wasn't. I don't think that would lead to a break-off of diplomatic relations, but I think it feeds into the narrative that the president has got to be a little more caged with his words, and that words really do have an impact on these kinds of things.
Some other words that could have an impact. What do you make of the fact that my checking of Sweden and proving what the actual facts on the ground are there will probably be met with the idea that I am fake news and an enemy of the American people? How do you like that sentiment? Is that what the president should be telling people?
Yeah, I don't like that. And here's the thing. I mean, truth matters. Truth has a meaning. Everybody can see truth kind of through their own lens, right? A liberal will see things one way, a conservative another way, but truth is still truth. If a sky is orange, a pilot may see a beautiful sky, a ship captain may see a threatening sky, but it's still truth. And I think when we begin to say only believe the truth that comports with your worldview, that's very dangerous. And so, I think it's one thing to have an adversarial relationship with the press. The press should be questioning of anybody in politics, and politicians, if they feel like the press is being biased, I think should be able to call that out. But it's totally different to say, a news story is all fake news, it's not real, because I think that leads down a very dangerous path, and that path is only believe the truth that feels good to you. And so, I think it's one thing to have an adversarial relationship. It's another thing to say that the press is all lying all the time.
Are you worried that if you often enough say things that criticize or disagree with the president, he is going to take to Twitter and give you a thumping that will compromise your political future?
No, I don't worry, because look, I support him in a lot of areas. I think he has besides some of the words, the foreign policy that's coming out is strong. I think as a conservative Republican, we're excited about the agenda going forward. But I was elected to represent 700,000 people and to represent my country, not my party. I'm a Republican because of what I believe, but not because I have some allegiance to Republicanism. So I feel good about what I'm doing, and just continue to do what I think is right, and the consequences will lay themselves out. And at the end of the day, when I'm done with this job, whenever that is, I can look in the mirror and smile, I hope.
Do you think that any new executive order that comes out this week should be more than just a temporary ban and should have actual extreme vetting procedures that are new to keep us more safe in it?
No, I'm going to leave that to the president. I think he does have a lot of leverage here. I think the idea of looking at our vetting procedures, I would have expected any new administration to come in and do that. Where I was critical of this, obviously, is when green card holders were brought in. As a veteran of Iraq, folks who were translators for our military were brought into that mix. And I also kind of question why Iraq is even on that list in the first place. They're our biggest ally right now in the war against ISIS. And frankly, they have some of the strongest vetting procedures to get an Iraqi passport because we built that after the invasion. So we put in some very strong vetting procedures. So, I hope they're not on the new executive order, but it sounds like they may be.
Mike Flynn, do you have concerns, and yes, there are 5 different congressional panels looking into the connections between the administration or campaign and Russia. Do you have concerns that Mike Flynn was made a scapegoat to kind of own any Russia intrigue in the White House? Because the more the facts come out, I don't know that it's that clear why he was forced to resign. What's your take?
Yeah, I was confused a little bit when, I thought, as I said, the cover-up in this case is worse than the crime. I think it was highly improper to have discussions with the Russians about sanctions when you had a different president who was working on sanctions. I don't know if it would have been illegal. The cover-up seems like it's what's worse. So, look, I don't know how broad this goes, anything like that. I do know we need answers, and I know that it's important for the House Intel Committee, said they're going to do it now, the Senate Intel Committee, to use their classified settings to get to the bottom of this. We know that the edict has been put out to preserve all communications with regards to this. I don't want to make this a highly partisan issue because then it becomes just that, a partisan issue where it's hard to get to the truth of. I think it's important for the intel committees to get to the bottom of this. And, you know, look, it'll either exonerate everything that's been going on, saying, look, there's no deep ties, or we'll find out more. But I think that's where the patience comes in and we need to see.
How do you explain the president's kind of his tendency to shelter Russia from criticism? He didn't want to say what the intelligence community was making plain about connections to the hacks. He didn't want to say what is made plain by most of the international community about Russia's connection to the separatists in Ukraine. And it goes on and on. Even when O'Reilly was talking to him about Putin being a killer, that's O'Reilly's words, the president said, well, there are a lot of them. What about us? What do you make of his desire to shelter Russia in a way that is unusual in American politics?
You know, I don't know what to make of it. So I have really conflicting signals here. In the administration, the people that he has put in the administration are class acts, I think top notch. Vice President Pence, you have, you know, Mattis all the way down. Secretary of State Tillerson. These are Russia hawks, people that understand that we can have a relationship with Russia, but we also can't, you know, let them cross certain red lines. But then on the other hand, his words have violated that. So, you know, it's really confusing to me. My hope is it's just, you know, a president right now that is hoping to make some kind of a big deal, a grand bargain as new administrations that come in do. But I would really hope he watches. I mean, I think he has the opportunity to be a fantastic foreign policy president, but I think he needs to watch things like, you know, Vladimir Putin's on the moral equivalence of the United States, because he's simply not. So
700,000 people sent you to Washington. I bet you they would all have one thing that they want to say yes to, which is a tax cut. When are you guys going to cut our taxes? It was such a big part of the campaign, and it seems back burner at best. And there's all this talk about the Tea Party pushing back on the administration's plans and Ryan's plans. Give us the scoop. What is the status of tax reform?
So we want to do this right, and we're not going to rush it. We're going to do it cautiously. There is quite a bit of movement actually going on right now in the committees in terms of what this is going to look like. But there's no doubt this is not going to be easy to do. It never is. I mean, think back to 1986 was the last time we had this, and it took a bargain between Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan. So look, there's concerns, but we're going to continue to work hard on this to do this right, to simplify the tax code on the business side, on the personal side, and I think reinvigorate the economy. So there's a lot of people trying to rush this process to say, get it out there. We want to do this right, make sure it's actually a net huge benefit for the American people. So I actually expect we're going to see some really positive results by the time we go home in August.
Would be good to see. The sooner, the better. Hard work is demanded from Congress. Results are expected. Right. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us, as always. Brooke.